Kiirstin Marilyn.
Hi.
Welcome to AJB.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, you are Kiirstin Marilyn. You are a singer,
Yes.
songwriter,
Yes.
performer,
Yeah.
and you're here in the art space, and we're going to just talk about art
I love it.
and what you do.
Okay.
So, I met you in the city. You were strolled into your show and kind of saw it cold, so I didn't know who you were or anything like that, and it was something to do. And I liked it, and my friends that were there liked it, and I said, hey, you should come out. It was awesome. It was like an electro rock kind of thing. So is that what you would call it, or what would you call it?
Yeah, I've been, lately I've been kind of creating my own genre, because people are like, what genre are you? And I'm like, well, I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm this. So I just kind of like put them together, and lately I've been saying electro pop rock.
Cool. Isn't that the hardest part, like explaining it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not, and people are like, who do you sound like? And I'm like, I can tell you who has influenced me,
right,
but I can't tell you who I sound like. That's sort of an impossible thing, I think, for an artist to be like, oh, well, I sound like this person, because you don't want to sound like anyone else.
Yeah.
So, and then a lot of times, like, you're submitting your music online or whatever, and they're like, who do you sound like? And then there'll be like a little blurb that's like, everyone sounds like someone, so don't say you sound like nobody. But that's the whole point. Like, this is why we're doing this, because we want to be original and we don't want to sound like anyone, and I think that's fine. And I think it's awful for like industry people to say that, to be like, well, everybody sounds like somebody, so you have to sound like someone. And I'm just like,
and it's like yelling at you through the screen.
Yeah.
It's like, don't say.
It's like all caps. Like, don't say that you don't sound like anyone because you sound like somebody. Well, if I wanted to sound like someone, then I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. Then I would be doing cover songs, and I would be singing at weddings.
So my next question is, because I find this, do you think it's weird that electronic music has been around as long as it has, yet it's still like the hardest thing to explain to people, like with what you do?
Yeah, because it's not really a thing that people understand as far as live performance.
Yeah.
I think when people think live performance, they think bands, they think, drums, bass, guitars, another guitar probably, and vocals. And so when I go up there and I'm like, I have track that I have to plug in. I mean, the sound guys are usually not thrown by it, but sometimes like audience members are like, I came for a rock show, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But, and then like when they think electronic, they think like DJ or just someone who's pressing a lot of buttons, and they don't really associate it with a rock show, which is, I mean, when I perform live, it's a rock show, like it definitely is, but I've got electronic elements.
Right.
And I think that's fine, and people just need to like expand their minds.
I think it's fine too, because I get, you know what you need a band, or you know what you should do is this.
Oh, I love it. You know what you should do?
Yeah.
Really?
And it's like, you create something with a computer, and you create something electronically, and then it's almost like, to me, inauthentic to fabricate that part through an instrument or something, just to like appease like a music snob, as opposed to like putting something original out, or something that you create that has those electronic elements mixed in with a live guitar or a live vocal. And because to me it's just funny that like this far along, it's still like a little confusing to people, like what you do.
And well, I think there are a lot of, not just music snobs. Well, there's the music snobs, and then there's your portion of music snobs that are also musicians that are like, electronic music is not real music, and I'm like, well, why?
Right.
Why is that? Like, we're creating melodic sound that is internalized by the listener as music. So why would you say that that's not music as well? Like, I think anything that has rhythm and melody is music. Yeah. And I don't see why something that is created, and I love dubstep, and there are a lot of people that are like, this isn't music, and I was like, why not?
Right.
Like, what, how are you defining music?
Right. Now, you are a singer that does edgy. It's pretty edgy, especially for a female. I think, you know, it's because you scream and you yell and you get loud and stuff. And so, what's your experience with that? I mean, you are a female, so you've never been a guy, so it's not like you've experienced it from both sides. But in your opinion, do you think it's like harder, less hard, you know, different, not different?
I personally think it's harder. I think a lot of times when you get up there as a female, what I get a lot of the time when I come off stage is people saying to me, that's not what I expected.
Right.
Or something to that effect of like, you know, I was expecting you to do something totally different, and, you know, essentially like you blew me away. Like, you know, this guy last night was there with his 8-year-old daughter, which was amazing. She was so adorable, and we turned her into a fan, which is great. I was like, yes, I have an 8-year-old fan. If someone's at a rock show, they're used to seeing guys rock. And so when you walk up there as a female, especially with what I wear, you know, they're like, this is gonna be whatever, and they'll, you know, before they even give it a chance, they'll leave. Last night was actually, I played at Spike Hill in Brooklyn, and that was a great experience. Everyone stayed, and then everyone got the full experience, and they totally got it, which was great. That doesn't always happen in Manhattan, unfortunately. Right. So I'm trying to play other places other than Manhattan. Yeah. Unfortunately, right now, my biggest following is in Manhattan.
Yeah. Do you find a difference between when you're playing for, besides the obvious yes, but the difference between like when people know your music and don't know your music? And, you know, do you find it much easier when the people know your music, or do you like the challenge of, okay, no one here knows it, and I have to earn this?
Yeah, I like both things. You know, it's definitely great when people are singing along and they know the songs and they're headbanging right along with you. It's this exchange of energy that that you can't get when like no one knows you or knows your music. So like, you know, I like to do a lot of going out into the audience, and when people are like into it and you're going out to the audience, you know, you just like, you put your head against their head and you're both singing the lyrics at the same time, and there's like this amazing exchange of energy. But then like I love that challenge of like, you don't know what you're about to see. Yeah. And I'm about to do something that I bet you is gonna blow your mind. Yeah. And then you get to, you know, find out what their experience of it was later. And it always depends on where you are too. You know, the show that you saw me at was really difficult.
It was really weird.
It was very weird. There were a lot of children there, which was strange. It wasn't what I was expecting from that show at all. So that was a difficult show. Yeah. That was more challenging than I like. But when you're doing it in front of music fans, then, you know, it's a challenge, but, you know, it's one that like you can most of the time overcome. Right. It's hard when like they're not really music fans. They're just there to like do their thing or like see their friend.
Not gonna like anything.
Yeah, they're not gonna like any of it.
You're just gonna, like, I want to talk to my friend.
Exactly. Yeah. Can you please stop playing your music because we're having a conversation here. Shh. Yeah.
I think it's easier, like when people know your music. I enjoy it a lot now because it just is easier. Yeah. Like, you know, they like it, so you can. I just feel like there's you relax a little more. Whereas when you're trying to earn it, as cool as that is, it's that cool. Like, I want to earn it. I want this person to like it. It's just a lot more stressful, not in a bad way, but you know, your heart rate's going to be a little. Yeah. Because you're like, these people don't know it, and I don't know what they're thinking and stuff. But when people like it, it's like really, you know, like if I almost feel like it's so easy for like a major artist that has a stadium full. How easy it is for them. Because they know everyone there knows all the words. So it's like, whereas when you're in a little club and there's, you know, 30, 40 people there, and, you know, maybe 10 of them kind of know your name because they looked you up online from the club flyer or something.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of stressful, you know. It's a hard sell, and you're there, like, kind of selling your art, and you know, it's always nicer to just do your art, you know. So
I get nervous though with people that also they do come all the time, so they see me. For me, that's a little nerve-wracking, just because you want to put on a good show for them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want them to be like, well, that was good, but it wasn't as good as, you know, a month ago or whatever. So, and you know, a venue makes a difference too.
Yeah.
If you're on a stage that's big and comfortable and cool, and the sound guy knows exactly what he's doing, and there's lights and like all that makes your experience different, which makes their experience different. And like if you're playing at, you know, a tiny little venue that, you know, doesn't really even have a sound guy, you're doing your own sound, and you know, there's no lighting guy, it's definitely going to change.
It's context. I mean,
yeah.
Because if you're at a venue where it's kind of, wow, you're there, that's impressive, now they're going to automatically try to like you a lot faster than if like they're coming to some like warehouse or some like weird place. They're like, well, why are you in a warehouse?
Like, you were just playing at Highline. Like,
Highline, you know?
They're like, how you can't perform at Highline all the time? I'm like, well.
I mean, that's like our challenge. Like we perform in the most alternative types of spaces, and then people kind of get confused. Like, I don't know how to take this, you know. And then when we have performed at like an institution, you know, like a place that's known for, like, if you're on that stage, it's impressive. All of a sudden, they're like interpreting it different. Like, wow, you guys are great, you know. And it's like you could have seen the same thing in a warehouse, which is like kind of cooler in my scope of the world. It's like cooler, but it doesn't have the institution, you know. So the institution, I always feel like plays a big thing. But my question is, what's like the weirdest experience you've ever had at a live show?
Weirdest? A show comes to mind. It wasn't really weird. It was kind of just awful. It was actually in my first band, not in this project. And my bassist, we had speculations that he was doing, you know, extracurricular things. Yeah. And we were actually playing a competition at Starland Ballroom. Okay. And something like was up with his equipment, and he was like walking off stage in the middle of our set and couldn't figure out what was wrong. And it was literally just the simple, like, your bass is not plugged into your amp or something like that. It was like just a wire had to be like picked up, and he like couldn't figure out why the sound wasn't coming out, and he was freaking out, and he was getting really angry. And that was, you know, he had a temper to begin with, and then we were pretty sure that he was like on something. And that was just, oh my god, it was just so embarrassing and awful, because, you know, people don't realize when you're in a band, everyone represents everyone. Mm-hmm. So if my bassist is doing something terrible and awful, it's reflective of me. Yeah. And people know that, but not consciously. Yeah. You know, they're like, oh, this band. Right. When it's really just one member of the band, but they're like, oh, what's happening with this band right now? Yeah. So yeah, that was really, and we fired him shortly after that. Yeah, you kind of have to. Yeah. Now, what is your creative process like when you write, when you put together a project of songs or whatever? Generally, I'm at home. Well, actually, I tend to put pieces of lyrics together while I'm out doing other things. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm walking down the street and I'm just like singing to myself, and I'm like, oh, that's good. And I like record that on my phone and send it to myself. And then like those little pieces of things that I do while I'm out and about in the world, I will take them and sit at home and kind of like try to piece together some of them, or take one of the ideas and expand upon it. And I'll generally create an entire song, you know, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. It might just be lyrics and melody. It might have a little bit of guitar behind it. It might have a little bit of piano behind it. Nothing crazy, because I'm not that skilled at either of those instruments. And then once I have a full song, I'll bring it to a producer and we'll kind of piece together an instrumental like track behind it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I did my first 2 albums. Because I worked with another guy, Rob, and he did the sound. Because I wasn't skilled enough on computers and composition yet.
Yeah.
But I always was a lyric guy and a melody guy, so I would go to him with a whole song and just record it a cappella and then work the sound around it. And then my last 3 albums have been, because now I do it all myself, so now it's sometimes it's a beat, sometimes it's a chord, sometimes it's a lyric. But yeah, I'm a lyric guy. I like songs. I like lyrics of songs first and vocals first.
Me too.
So I always like to hear when people write kind of the words first, and then let the song kind of follow. And then I know that people like the sounds or something.
I've struggled with writing to songs that are already there. That's what I had to do in my first band. The music came first, and then I was sort of the last piece. And that was really, really hard for me.
It's limiting.
Yeah. It was like I can only do so much within what you've given me.
Yeah.
And it caused some tension between me and at least my drummer at the time, because he was like, well, why can't you do this? And I'm trying to explain, while trying to not like give myself an excuse as to why, but also explain like it's really hard for me to write when you've already got this thing in place. So I can only do this.
Right.
I can't play with it as much as I would like to, because there's already a structure there. And I always find that to be, I mean, I've gotten better at it, I guess, just because I had that experience. Like sometimes there'll be like a rapper that's got a beat and he'll send it to me, and I'll work out like a chorus for it. I had a couple DJs send me beats, and I was able to like write over top of it, but it's not how I prefer to write. Not for my stuff anyway.
But even that to me would be kind of almost a lot more, to me that would be easier, because it's just like you're just being a piece of someone else's puzzle. So if it's a rapper, like, can you put a hook on here? You're just kind
so
of
much easier.
Like, sure.
Yeah.
But when it's like, well, this is my song, what do I want to say?
Yeah.
And then it's already laid out this way, but not that way. I totally understand.
It is, writing a chorus for someone I find to be super easy, because they've already given you the idea.
Right.
You know, he's already got his lyrics, so I know what the song is about. So I just have to work something that kind of like summarizes everything. And it just has to be, 4 or 8 lines, whatever. And I can like pound out choruses really quickly. But when it comes to my own stuff, it's like, oh, what do I want to say? Who am I?
With every song. How epic can I make this?
Yeah,
I know, it's hard. That's why I like the lyrics first too, though, because then you get the idea.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of go with it, and I personally like to keep like one idea in like a song. For me, that's how it's easy. Like, this is what I want to say, and that's what I stick to. If I go like, if I start playing with, I want to say this and then that, I get all like, I get like writer's block. Do you have a favorite song of yours, or are they like children where you can't judge them all?
I think some people do judge their children.
I do
and
too.
They do have favorite children.
Yeah. You can't say it.
You can't say it. I have different favorite songs for different things.
Okay.
So like, The Struggle has become my favorite song to perform live because of the way that people react to it, and our energy exchange. It's got the most energy of all the songs. It's the most danceable for everyone else. So like, once that song comes on and we start performing, everyone in the audience goes nuts.
Right.
So that's become my favorite song for that purpose. My favorite song to like sort of perform and lyric wise, that is like something that is very emotional for me, is my song Grim. And it's actually like my interpretation of a love song.
Right.
It's for my significant other, and but it's pretty dark. It's basically saying like once you die, I say the future's looking grim, and it's like because I'm looking into the future,
right.
We all die. So one day you're gonna die, and you're gonna leave me here by myself, and that day I'm going to take my life, essentially. So.
That's romantic.
Yeah, really romantic. So, cool. But for me, like when I'm performing that song live, I get emotional, like, and then, but then I can also, I'm not just singing it for him either, like, right. I'm singing it to the people that are there, I'm singing it to my friends that have come out, that, I love them so much, and, so yeah, it's my love song to everyone.
Do you like listening to your own songs?
It's hard to say. I tend to not. I don't really listen to my songs, but sometimes I'll be like, let me just listen to this right now, and I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm listening to it, but I just kind of want to I just want to hear it. I just want to remember what it sounded like recorded. Yeah. Because when it first comes out, you listen to it over and over and over again, and you listen to it for different reasons. You listen to it because it's the thing that you created and you love it. You listen to it to make sure there are no imperfections, to make sure it's not the most terrible thing in the world that you're now releasing to the public. But then, that gets less and less, and then it's just like every once in a while I'll see it on iTunes and I'm like, oh, really?
Do you pretend you're a list you're not you? Let me see what this sounds like.
Yeah, you have to kind of remove yourself and be like, okay, this isn't me right now. I'm just gonna listen to these songs. If I'm in a car with someone and it comes on on their iPod or whatever, I'm like, change it. Yeah. It's so weird. I can't sit in the car with you and listen to my music.
Right? You can feel whatever it is, when you're watching or listening to something with people, and certain people I can listen to stuff with, and certain people I can't. Yeah. And I don't know what they're thinking, but I feel like they're thinking the worst things imaginable. So I'm like, turn this off.
It feels like obviously they like it. It's on their iPod. Right. They listen to it in their car, or they have the CD in their car, whatever. Yeah. So clearly they like it enough to be listening to it in their car. But then when it comes on and I'm in the car, I feel like they're wondering what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so I feel judged, sitting in the car listening to my own music. So I'm like, you have to change this. This is not okay.
Get off.
Yeah.
Get off the radio. That's funny. Someone asked me the other day, that's what kind of made me think of it now, what's your favorite song? With me, and I was gonna say this one, but then there's that one, and I do listen to my stuff, probably a lot, but for so many reasons at once. I'm still trying to figure out if it sounds good, or, but I also try to make music that I like, so I want to hear it, and so I do kind of, but I've also been in the making new music thing kind of nonstop. So I do a lot of new music, so I'm always listening to what I just did. And then for that moment, it's my favorite song ever. That's my favorite one.
Yeah. And then, it's usually the newest one is your favorite one.
Yeah. And then you kind of let it settle. But it's interesting. But when other people are with you and listening, it's always kind of weird. Yeah. Sometimes it's nice, and sometimes it's not. So you have a musical theater background, and an acting background, and now you do rock music, and you rock on stage. Is there a connection other than, is there what's your connection? How do you see it? How do you see how it threads together?
There's absolutely a connection, and I think also because it's a theater, it's theater background, it's musical theater background, so I've always been on stage my whole life. I think if I were more of a film TV actor, I might not necessarily get it, but people can always tell that I have a theater background. They just know because of the way that I internalize my songs and perform my songs. But I also, I've taken that cue from, I grew up with Gwen Stefani, so I've also taken that cue from her, and I'm not really sure where she got it from, but that's the one thing I can say about her is, besides her intense performances, she will always internalize that song and get you to feel exactly what she's saying while jumping around on stage and sweating and so she's someone that I idolized from this big. So but yeah, I mean it definitely is helpful. I did I performed in Dublin at this, like they're trying to make it the South by Southwest for Dublin essentially, and so they had panels and stuff during the day, and I wasn't going to go to this performance panel or like performance workshop, whatever it was, and I was like, well, that's what I do though, why do I need to go to a performance workshop?
Right.
But I was kind of like, coerced to go. I was like, you don't know who you're going to meet and whatever.
Right.
And so I was like, okay. So I went, and I actually wound up kind of helping the person that was running the workshop. But one of the things that he said, and then I was able to chime in on it, was as a musician, if you want to perform on stage, you should consider taking acting classes. Yeah. And I was like, I've never thought of telling another musician to do that, but now that you say that, it totally makes sense. Because it gets you comfortable in your own skin, comfortable being in front of people. A lot of musicians are just like, they play their songs, like, And yeah, I think that being on stage, I mean, I was dancing from 2 years old and then was in my first musical when I was 10, so the stage has just been my life.
Right.
And it's definitely helped for switching into music because people want you to perform. They want to come out to a show to see a show, so you have to give them a show.
You just said perform, and what I've noticed with a lot of people, brains are different. I think artists' brains and musicians' brains, I find to me to be two different things, because musicians can not be performers, and let's say performing artists and musicians, but even I feel like visual art and stuff is a different part of the brain than music and stuff. But what I noticed when I saw you perform was there was like an internal connection, and there was like a purpose-driven performance. And I've seen with other, you could see when someone is kind of connected internally, and when someone kind of isn't, or if someone's like kind of turning their back to the stage, or like shy or stage fright. And then it's like, maybe you should just record your songs and not perform them.
Yeah.
Or maybe you should take some classes on how to present yourself on a stage, whether it's acting or just like a body awareness class, or something, but you're not only singing or dancing, like playing an instrument, but you're also doing that for someone to see it. So it is, I think it's a good point. So I was kind of hoping you say what you said, because that's what I kind of anticipated you saying, because it made sense when I saw you perform to know that you had a background, because and it wasn't like an over the top, like you don't like make a caricature of yourself or a pantomime or anything like that, but you were connected to the music, and that's why it was really cool to see it. And I enjoyed seeing it live before I heard it, because it was the energy when it was live was really, really, really cool.
That's how I for the most part discover music, is through watching someone live. Like, I'm not a big, even though we have to be on the internet these days, like I kind of wish I could just turn it off.
Yeah.
The internet's great for different things. It connects you to things that you would never be connected to, but people have sort of lost sight of what it should be and what it's become, and we've let it take over our lives, and I mean,
and it's become so saturated and focused on the mundane that you can barely even put your art out there without people being like, all right, I heard, like, shut up about your song, here's what I ate yesterday.
Right.
It's a weird situation. So even like 10 years ago, the internet was it was what it was supposed to be, I feel like. And then it
now it's
morphed into
insane.
what it's not supposed to be. And but in a good way, it's going back to kind of really kind of making niches and making, like, not genres necessarily, but like the people that want to see live music are going to go out and see live music.
Yeah.
Because they're like, the internet, they're like kind of over the internet. So
I think so too. I know that I have been for the past couple of years getting to the point where I'm like, I'm so done with Facebook and all that. Like, I I just do it now because I have to as an artist, but if I didn't have to be on it, I would not be on it. And I hear that from other people now. Like, more people are getting off of Facebook. More people are just like, I'm really only on Instagram and that's it. And people are getting to the point where they're like, okay, we've been doing this for 10 years. I think it's enough.
All right, so one last thing in one kind of phrase, doesn't have to be one sentence, but why do you do what you do?
Wow. I it's that the answer to that has changed, I think, over the years. I left theater because it wasn't creatively fulfilling, and I wanted to speak my own words and get my own ideas out there, but there was definitely like a fame thing when I first started. It was like, I wanna have that. I wanna perform in front of thousands of people and be Gwen Stefani. Mm-hmm. Like I want all of that. And now I just do it because I love creating. And I love the connection. I love when I get messages from people that are like, I was having a really horrible week and I listened to your music and it's helped me. And so that has become why I do it. I do it for, I of course get something out of it when I'm performing. Like, it's a release. To perform on stage is just this ultimate release that if you don't do something like that, you wouldn't understand what that does for you and your own psyche and body and
well, I think now you're in the reality of it. You really do it. Now it's like a job. And that's, to me, I think everyone kind of wants to be a rock star when they start, right? But then when you kind of get past the rock star thing and you're doing it all the time, you almost don't care about that because it's the doing it that's the awesome part. And just getting a message from somebody is just as powerful in a lot of ways as if it was a million people because you're on television. But it's in some ways more powerful because you're not on television and you're not being pushed by a controlled thing to make people like it. So it's an authentic response. It's totally authentic, and they're choosing on their own for them, pretty much I like that because I like it. And that's awesome. And that's why you're here. So thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.